chose was the culture of education in America. So I want to start you guys off with a question. By show of hands, how many of you were raised by parents who were born in a different country?
Ako.
So a lot of us, including myself. And in fact, when my parents came here, they were around my age. And back in Poland, they didn't have the type of education that we get here in America. So the one thing they taught me and my sisters at a young age was that education is a privilege and it should always be my priority. And that if I'm successful in school, I'll be successful in life. So that's what I did. As soon as I came to middle school, I started taking honors classes. And by 7th grade, I was taking all honors classes. And then I got to high school. And high school, it was different because we were told that this was the start of our path to college. And when we hear the word college, our heart starts racing, we start getting sweaty palms, and they also said words like a college transcript. And at that point, they're also asking you, so what do you want to be when you grow up? What do you want to do? What do you want to major in? And I really didn't know what I wanted to do because I, in middle school, was so focused on getting good grades and doing everything the way my parents wanted me to do that I really didn't know. So when I would ask my parents what I should do, they said, my dad specifically would be like, well, medical's always going to be around. People are always going to need doctors. So you are probably going to be a doctor. And I said, you know what, you're right. And he was like, it pays good too. And I said, you know what, you're also right about that. So in my head, I convinced myself that I wanted to be a doctor. I wanted to work in the medical field because it's always going to be around and it was going to give me enough money to be financially stable. But now, going through all the experiences I have in high school and not taking as many honors classes, I learned that that's not what I want to do. So today, I want to talk about a couple different things of America's education system. The first thing that I want to start off with, as I mentioned in the beginning of my speech, is stress that we get from parents. So in high school, most of the stress that we're given is by our parents. Our parents are always telling us, take the highest classes you can get. Always go to your fullest potential. And that's what I did in middle school and I started doing in the beginning of high school. In fact, in a study done by the Association of Supervision and Curriculum Development, it was found that 1/3 of the respondents said that their parents believed that getting into a good college was better than them developing a good character. And I know everyone may be thinking that's crazy, why would you do that? But in reality, your parents are thinking, well, if you get into a good college and you have a good name on your college transcript, when you apply for jobs, you're gonna be like, oh, you have Harvard, oh, you have Princeton, you probably know your stuff. And when you get a job, you can develop your character afterwards. And this is not what we wanna do. What we wanna do is we wanna develop a passion in high school, but we're told by our parents to go to good colleges instead of being good people. As well as getting into a good college, in high school, sometimes parents force their children to take these courses that they're not interested in just because it looks good on a college application. And it's really hard because then students start thinking that the qualities of their personality and what they really want to do has really no purpose in their education because they're doing stuff that they have no interest in. Along with that, a psychologist at a campus counseling clinic at Harvard University found that students would come as a client would come and say that they would fail a class or they would fail a subject and they just hated themselves for it. But when he asked them why they hated themselves, they had no idea. They really didn't know why. And the reason is because we're convincing ourselves that grades is everything that matters, when in reality it's your passions that do. Instead of focusing to be happy with what you're doing and what you're going to want to do later on in life, we're focusing on getting good grades and seeing how much it pays. The next topic I want to talk about is taking advanced courses just for a college application, not for your interests. So, as soon as freshman orientation started, we were told that you want to take the best classes you can so that on your college transcript it'll look good. And by taking honors courses and advanced placement courses, you make it seem like you want to put yourself in a challenge. And this is always the case, but some people don't have the ability to get into these honors courses, but they still want to be challenged. So instead of focusing on one specific topic that they could most likely develop a passion in, students are told that they have to be a well-rounded student. And in a way, this is a good thing because we dipped our feet in every single subject. But at the same time, when we enter college, we're told, well, now you have to choose one thing that you want to do, but you're good at everything. So how do you find that one thing that you want to do? And this causes many people to feel unsure and just really confused when you're trying to choose a passion and you don't know what to do because you're good at everything. Along with this, instead of actually taking classes, like I said before, as your interest, you're starting to take classes just for college transcripts, and one of the things that leads to developing is the student cheating in classes, not you guys, but the students in general. In fact, an author and lecturer, Denise Clark Pope, she did a study where she shadowed 5 students at high schools, and in every class that she went in with these students, she observed any form of cheating, whether it was someone had their phone out, had stuff on a piece of paper. They always had something that would help them and would give them a benefit. And when she would go up to these students and ask them why they cheated, they knew it was wrong. They knew that what they were doing really wasn't good morals. But in their head, they're thinking, I need to get good grades. I need to make sure my college transcript looks good because this is what's going to plan the way for my future. Along with this, one of the main reasons for cheating is academic competitiveness. So in classes, you're always told that you want to have the highest grade, you want to be the best of the best, and by being the best of the best, it makes you feel like you're the best of the best. But in fact, when you're not as good as everyone else, and you have either people in the have the highest grade of an A+, and you have, say, a B+, you're still a good student, and maybe you're even trying harder than those students that are taking A+, but because of academic competitiveness, it makes you feel a lack of self-confidence because you don't have as high grades as everyone else in the class. And when you lack self-confidence, you lack a passion in what you're doing in school and a lack of interest in what you're doing in school. So students who have the highest grades in classes are made to seem like they enjoy what they're doing and they have interest in the classes that they're taking. And in reality, this is mostly not the case. Most students come to school just to get it over with and just to simply get through the classes, get these good grades, and then you're on your way to college and you live a good life. In fact, according to Adobe's State of Create benchmark study, they found that 2/3 of the respondents said that creativity was valuable to society and that it was going to make our society unique. But more than half of the respondents also said that our education systems were preventing them from working to their fullest creative potential. And in school, they're teaching us that we need to be more productive than creative. And it is really hard when we have things such as standardized tests and not flexible AP courses and a strict curriculum. It really suppresses our need to be creative and show off who we really are. Along with this, instead of listening to our internal interests and what we really want to do, we're told that we should be good at everything, and not finding that one specific passion really degrades on ourselves. And when I think about it, when was the last time you were told to do something creative, like a project or a research paper, and you had no motivation or any idea on what to do? Really, you had no clue. And when you're answering this in your head, this is a first-hand experience on how the education system is suppressing our need to be creative. We've been told over so many years that we shouldn't be creative and we have to focus on the practical things, when we're told to be creative, we don't know how, even though everyone has the capability of being creative. And the next thing I want to talk about is, and the last thing, is the effect of the stress that we get from school on our mental health. So, you know that jitteriness that you get when you're up here, especially right now for me, you get shaky and you start sort of slurring over your words and you don't really know what to do, but you get through it anyways. That's something called eustress. And eustress is good stress. It's the stress that gives you the fight or flight response, and it's the thing that gets you through and gives you the energy to go through something, whether it's a job interview or getting through a game. Maybe you get really nervous before a specific sport, and that eustress really helps you get through that event. When you have eustress, you're very focused and you make sure that you're challenged in every way. But in school, this is not the type of stress we're receiving every day. In fact, the type of stress we're getting is distress. And distress is the type of stress that makes you feel tired, and when you're in class, you feel like you can't focus, and you're listening to the teacher, and it's going in through one ear and coming out another, and you're sitting there like, I know what you're saying, but it's not staying in my head. And in fact, the study shows that distress can change the shape of the brain, and it can affect areas of memory and learning, which is why when you're stressed about either thinking about college, or you're thinking about something that could be going on later in life or in school, you can't focus in class and you can't remember what the teacher was saying, which really affects our progress in school. Along with this, on the rise now in America are mental illnesses such as anxiety and depression. And according to the American Psychological Association, it was found that 44% of clients at campus counseling clinics, so students who went there when they were in college and they started talking to counselors, found that they had severe mental illnesses, and mainly in the areas of anxiety and depression. And when you think about it, eustress is different from anxiety. When you have anxiety, you feel like you're trapped, you feel like you're in a box, you feel like you just can't do anything, and it's blocking you from really being the person you want to be. And when you have depression, you feel like you just have no motivation to do anything. And these are the things that the education system is telling us to do when they prevent us from being creative, and they prevent us from really showing who we are because we want to look good to a college by taking these advanced courses. In fact, this 44% was a study done in 2010, and this was an increase by 16% in 2000. And it may not seem like a lot, but 16% is really much of an increase. And when you have these types of mental illnesses or these stresses on your brain, you feel like you're trapped, you feel like you're in a bubble. But in reality, you're really not. And I want to give you some tips if you ever feel stress in school to prevent this stress from continuing on in the future. So the first thing I want to talk about is time management. And time management is really just focusing on getting stuff done a couple days before the deadline. You don't have to do it a week before the deadline, but getting it done just 2 days before will make you feel so accomplished and make you feel so much better than the stress that you feel when you're doing it the day before. The next thing I want to talk about is being able to talk. Talk to people you're comfortable with. Talk to people that they may seem like they're not thinking the same things as you, and they were never stressed in their lives. And us as teenagers, I know that I'm not really keen to talking to my parents about things that are happening in school because I feel like they've never experienced it, when in fact they had it worse than me because they barely spoke English when they came to America, and they felt this exact same stress that I'm feeling. Along with this, if you're ever feeling overwhelmed in school, it's always important to talk to your teachers or your guidance counselors or really anyone, because if you tell them your situation and how you're feeling, they will never want to see you fail. Teachers never want to see you fail. They always want to see you succeed. So even if you ask them for an extension on work and they don't give it to you, they will always give you another option that will help you to prevent you from not really doing anything at all and not being the best you can be. And the last thing I want to talk about that I want to mention is turning your focus to your passions rather than listening to what other people are telling you to do. People may tell you, oh, do this, do that, take advanced courses, take honors courses, because when you're applying to jobs and when you're applying to colleges, it is going to look good. And yes, colleges and jobs do look at your grades, but that's not the main thing they look at. They look at your experiences. They look at the things that you do to show that what you're saying you're passionate about is something that you're really passionate about, because they're not just going to take you because you had an A in every single class. And if you do these things and you really put your passions in as your priority instead of things that are other people are telling you to do, you could, as a whole generation, we could change the toxic culture of education. Thank you.
Woo!